Ilhan Omar came back to Minneapolis airport. What was this, last night, I guess?
Yes.
And this is good to see. Here she is. That's good to see. It's encouraging.
It's great.
Yep. Let's just hear her. She spoke in the wake of Donald Trump's attacks. And there's genuine concern about her safety, the safety of the members of the squad. Frankly, there should be concern about, throughout the country. But here she is.
Hello. It sure feels good to be home. They said send her back. They didn't know I was already going back. So everybody talks about how he is threatened because we criticize him. But the reality is he is threatened because we are inspiring people to dream about a country that recognizes their dignity and their humanity. We are pushing for a government that takes care of its sick, of its most vulnerable, which are its children and its elderly. We are pushing for a government and a country that recognizes that we are all one. That what I gain is a gain for my sister and for my brother. We have always been about creating a more perfect union, an inclusive one that is not just tolerant, but accepting. And so since the first day this president introduced the Muslim ban, knowing that the country I came from was on that, and that my country now was on the track of implementing fascist laws, I knew that I had to speak up. Because hope lies in the dreams of every immigrant who is able to achieve that American dream. Hope lies in every child that is able to achieve its full potential. Hope lies in every student that achieves an education and has a regular pathway to success. Hope lies in our constant renewal. And so when I said I was the hope of the United States, is because I embody what that hope should look like. And when I said I was the president's nightmare, well, you're watching it now. Because his nightmare is seeing a Somali immigrant refugee rise to Congress. Nightmare is seeing the beautiful mosaic fabric of our country welcome someone like me as their member of Congress home to Minnesota. And so we are going to continue to create that hope.
We have your back.
And we are going to continue to be a nightmare to this president because his policies are a nightmare to us. And we are not deterred. We are not frightened. We are ready. We are in the ring. We are in the people's house, and we are going to continue to keep fighting until we have the America we know we all deserve. Thank you.
Jeez.
She's obviously has for a very long time been by far my favorite member of the House. And I mean, that's just such an important reminder here too of like getting back to the fact that this like she has done more for most of the idiots in Trump's crowd than he's done. I mean, in fact, he works against them if we're talking about the economic policies. I mean, while this was happening, just this week, she and Sanders have a new push against Amazon in their factory conditions.
Yep.
She's the co-sponsor on the debt relief bill, Medicare for all,
The
and
9/11 first responders.
9/11 first responders,
Yes.
which is stunning, of course, because one would think she would have a different view of that from all of. I shouldn't even make that joke. I mean, the lies about her are just so grotesque, and she's like, that's it. Firm grounds of anti-racism, but also it's a positive, affirmative, shared civic space, and then let's go achieve common goals. It's people have no idea how lucky they are to have that kind of leadership now.
It is. I mean, let's just for a moment, like just to contemplate the idea that Rand Paul was pushing for the 9/11 compensation fund, and Ilhan Omar was the one who was holding it up. Right? Like, I mean,
Right.
what? Like they would be sending police squads to the Hill. They would be attempting to arrest her if she had
Without
done
a
something
doubt.
like that. And there is nothing more disgusting. I mean, this is like one of the few times where I wish like the Jews had a pope, so that the Pope could come out and say, like, hey, incidentally, all of you who are trying to leverage the Jews in this way, you're disgusting, and you're all, if you're Jewish, you're excommunicated, and if you're not, just, I'm the Pope of the Jews.
100%.
So, I mean, it's really been grotesque.
And anybody, look, I always have to say, just, Chuck Schumer, Steny Hoyer, and Nancy Pelosi not only did not have her back in the first wave a couple of months ago,
That's right.
they went to AIPAC and co-signed on lies about her. And they and that editor at the Ford, I can never remember her name, but she's constantly trying to drum things up against Ilhan. They share a role in this. It's disgusting.
Not only do they share a role, I mean, from a moral perspective, all right, let's just step back from that.
Sure.
But from a political perspective,
Strategically, they opened the door.
strategically, well, they opened the door, but let's remember, not only did they open the door to this because they sort of capitulated with their narrative, they stepped all over their big rollout of their big signature bill, HR 1. And I don't know if people remember this, but they had this House Resolution 1 was a massive anti-corruption bill. It across the board, it got money out of politics. I mean, it would be an impressive piece of legislation. It did not get 5 minutes of news coverage because the Democrats opened the door, Nancy Pelosi, et cetera, to this criticism of Ilhan Omar. And they tried to exploit it. They lost that internal battle, and they lost much of their agenda because they signed on to it. And yet they will not learn that lesson. And frankly, I've been surprised that there's not more been written about this, because that was on not quite day one, but week 1, week 2, they completely dropped the ball for their agenda, even on their own terms.
Well, that's the lesson with all of these people. Gone are the days of, I disagree with them maybe like vehemently, but they have some sort of ruthless efficacy in narrow political games. These people don't have that. And I also just want to say, from the social media perspective, I just want to reiterate that if a politician or a journalist or a think tank person is saying, if they put out the "I condemn the president's xenophobia," blah, 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 it has to mention her name specifically. You have to have the specific stake of how this is being weaponized against a specific person. Because as Mehdi Hassan tweeted yesterday or the day before, in his words, they're trying to kill her. You need to be very clear about who this is centered on.